Hey guys, did you miss me? I know you guys want me to do Gen 9 next, but actually, as of when I did the tier list, I was not far enough in Scarlet and Violet enough, and I was like, I don't want to spoil these Pokemon. I want to have more experiences and more stuff to say about them. So this is a filler vid, you could say. Obviously, it's not Gen 9, because the whole point of the series was leading up to Gen 9. I was going to do every generation of Pokemon, ranking every Pokemon ever. But it's okay to take a stop and do Gigantamax and Mega forms, isn't it? So basically, happy holidays first of all, because this should be going up on the 28th. I hope you all had a good Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. But in this video, I'm basically going to be ranking the Gigantamax and the Mega forms. And before I get started, it did not have 3 Pokemon on the list. It did not have Mega Sableye, Primal Groudon, and Primal Kyogre. So I'm going to talk about those real quick right now. Mega Sableye would be in the neutral tier because I don't really feel strongly one way or another about it. Then Primal Kyogre and Kyogre would probably be an S tier because I love those designs. ORAS was my first ever game, so I'm going to love the Primal forms. I just think they improve on already great legendaries from that generation. Now, with that being said, I believe this is all of the intro stuff that we have to talk about. And next month, January, I promise, we will be doing Gen 9 Pokemon. All new Scarlet and Violet Pokemon. At least until, if there's DLC, then it'll be out of date, and I'll do a video on that. But for now, once we do Gen 9, that is going to be all of the Pokemon ranked. But let's start with this video off with the bad tier. And starting us off, we have Gigantamax Meowth, which is far from my favorite Pokemon, as I'm sure you could probably tell, because I just have to ask why. Obviously, like Pikachu and Eevee, I get why they got their forms, they're kind of like the cute mascots. Why did you give another form to Meowth? We already had the bad Alolan Meowth, the bad Galarian Meowth that turned into good Berserker, and now we have bad Gigantamax Meowth. Like, just stop. I'm glad there's not another Meowth in Scarlet and Violet, because you're 0 for 3 on your forms right now. The only good thing that came from it was Berserker, and even that I thought was only good, not like great or anything. But it's just not a good design. It's just a tall cat. Like, why? You could have done so much more with Gigantamax Meowth other than making it just long, It's also just terrible. There's nothing about Gigantamax Meowth that's good at all, so why? I just don't get it. And then Mega Audino's up next, kind of the same thing as Gmax Meowth. I guess it's cute, and I guess it's a Mega, so it's less, like, concerning, because you can just not put the Mega Stone on it. Whereas if you want to Dynamax your Meowth, you have to do a Gigantamax Meowth in most cases. So I don't know, I guess it's a little bit better. And then Mega Diancie, the reason it's so low, most of you would probably put it in the neutral tier. I actually say it's terrible, because it is such a situational Pokemon. Like, it is a mythical Pokemon. Diancie is a mythical Pokemon, which you have to get from a physical event at like a GameStop or EB Games or whatever, depending on where you live. You have to get a card and scan it into your 3DS game, as well as get a Mega Stone in-game, give it to the mythical Pokemon with this mythical item event, and then boom, you get this mediocre form. Like, that is a lot of work for a form that barely changes from regular Diancie. It's just more blingy. And I hate that. I don't want it to be more blingy. I want it to be a cooler design. I get it's the jewelry Pokemon, but like, come on, you can do better things with a mythical Mega Pokemon that you're already making us go out to get for an event. Like, it just frustrates me. I don't get why it exists. I don't know why it's so bad. And I think this is more of a rant on mythical Pokemon than anything else, is why I hate it so much, if that makes any sense at all. And then finally, a less Pokemon that makes me less angry, obviously, is Gigantamax Caparaja. It's just ugly as hell, I'm gonna be honest. It's just an elephant standing on its hind legs with small arms and a big trunk. Why? Like, why? It's more funny than anything else, but it's still bad. Like, I'm still don't like it, because it has a stupid design, and it's a disgrace to elephants everywhere, honestly. We've had too many good elephants. We've had Donphan and Caparaja. Now we have Great Tusk. Love Great Tusk. But this is just a shame, honestly. Like, why? And the OG is obviously better from Gen 8, Caparaja. And with that, we're going to move on to the not a fan tier, starting with Mega Kangaskhan, and it is not excused that it is a menace in competitive Pokemon, because it is a lazy design. Oh, let's make Mega Kangaskhan, let's just make it have a baby, and the baby comes out of the pouch. Cool. I feel bad for saying I don't care, but it's true, I really don't. The only thing that changes is the baby, and it gets a few extra spikes. Come on, that's just lazy, you could have done more. And then we have Gmax Sandaconda. It's Sandaconda. Like, I already don't love Sandaconda, so you give it a mediocre form, and I'm actually more disliking it now. Because, like, there was a heaping amount of better Gen 8 Pokemon to get a Gigantamax form. Like, Sinistea and Poltegeist would love to get a form, you know? And starters didn't even get a form until the DLC. Sandaconda was in the base game. So they decided to make Gmax Sandaconda before they did Gmax starters, which baffles me, honestly. And then we have Mega Aerodactyl, which I just don't like it. It's kind of one of those Pokemon, like a Porygon 2, or a Weevil, I'm pretty sure I said was one of them, where it just, like, doesn't click with me. It's just kind of like uglier Aerodactyl, so I'm sorry I don't like it. Mega Glalie just gets a jaw, and I don't like that. You could have done more and made it less ugly. Hatterene, or Gmax Hatterene, looks like a cock, I'm gonna be honest, but I don't really care about that. More so, that doesn't change enough. It's the whole princess in the tower thing, but, like, I don't care. It's just big Hatterene, you know? And up to this point in time, here's a fun fact. Gmax Hatterene is the only Gmax Pokemon to not be in the TCG at the moment. There is no Hatterene VMAX, although there is one more Sword and Shield set coming out, Crown Zenith, so we could be proven wrong. Let's see. Moving on, we have Heracross, and this design is just straight up worse than the original. It's more of a chubby, fat Heracross, and it's just not cool, which kind of, like, destroys what the original Heracross was going for, because that's like a cool beetle, and this is like a fat, slow, hard-hitting defensive beetle. Like, come on, no, we want the fast Heracross, you know? And then we have Gmax Eevee, and I'm sorry, there were two Gmax Pokemon that are based off their red and blue designs in their Gmax forms. One of them really works, and the other one is Gigantamax Eevee. So I'm sorry, but, like, I don't care that it's based on the original form of Eevee from the original games, because it doesn't work, because nobody cares about Eevee from red and blue like they care about chubby Pikachu. So it's just a bad design when you look at it without that lens. It's just fluffier. Like, there's not much you can do with a Gigantamax Eevee, so why don't you just not make it? And I don't know, give one to all the Eeveelutions, and that would be way better. And it wouldn't be nearly as bad. Although that would be a lot of work, admittedly. But it would be cooler. Can't deny me on that one. And then obviously we have Manectric up next. Kind of the same thing as Mega Aerodactyl, I just don't like it. It's the second ever Mega EX I had in my collection from when I was doing the card game back in the day. So that's cool. But if we're looking at, like, the design itself, it's just not that great. Plus, I don't care for regular Manectric that much. So, like, you know, it doesn't really work for me. And then Mega Mewtwo X is heavily outclassed by Mewtwo Y. Why does it need 2? I don't know. You could say the same thing about Charizard, but, like, I get why they did 2 for that, because it's the golden child. But for Mewtwo? Really? Does Mewtwo need 2 Mega forms? Plus, this one's just kind of ugly and weird looking. Like, it has, like, weird finger toes, and it's all muscly. Like, no thanks. I'll take Mega Mewtwo Y any day of the week. And then Mega Blastoise is in this tier. Which this might come as a bit of surprise, because if you saw the Gen 1 video back in, March at this point? Blastoise is, like, my second favorite Pokemon of all time. Obviously, Squirtle is my favorite Pokemon of all time. But this is Mega Blastoise. And it's just, like, not enough for me. Like, it's just a giant cannon on top of the head, and it's just Blastoise. Like, there is so much missed potential in this design. And as you'll see with Gigantamax Blastoise, that is the design that is phenomenal and improves on the original very much so. This one makes it look stupid because as a giant, it's like a tank. Like, why? Blastoise is already big and slow. You might as well make it, like, huge like Gigantamax. Why just make it a tank? That's dumb. Doesn't matter though. It just makes me sad because I love Blastoise. But we have the neutral tier up next, which is where a lot of them ended up. Mainly because they either have okay designs where I have no feelings on them, like Mega Lucario or Mega Swampert kind of thing. Or they just look too similar to the originals. Like for me, a lot of the Gigantamaxes like Colossal, and a lot of the Megas like Mega Scizor, they're just too similar for the original to have much of an opinion on the form itself, you know? And none of them improve on the original. I'm just like, yeah, that looks like what Mega Scizor would look like. So like, neutral tier is a perfect place for it. And then we move on to the good tier, which these are most of the ones that I think do better than the originals. Like, if I had a Sceptile, I would want it to evolve into Mega Sceptile because I think Mega Sceptile is cooler than it. If I had a Mega Mewtwo, or if I had a Mewtwo, I'd want it to evolve into Mega Mewtwo Y because I think Mega Mewtwo Y is cooler than regular Mewtwo. You know? These are all Mega Evolutions that I would want to evolve my Pokemon into because they look cool. And I think they're all actually pretty well designed, except for one, Mega Slowbro. I just like it because it's funny. Like, I don't care that every Mega has to be dead serious. I like that they made Slowbro look stupid, because, you know, Slowbro is a bit of a stupid Pokemon, so it's okay to have a Mega that looks stupid. And I get why people don't like it, because it's not, like, serious or anything, but I love it, because it's funny. I don't love it enough for Great Tier, but I still love it. Alright, and now we get to move on to Great Tier, which is a little bit smaller than usual, to say the least, because usually there's a lot more Pokemon to rank and a lot more of them that I like. We're going to start off with both Urshifus, both Single Strike and Rapid Strike. I really like both of them. I don't, like, they're not my favorites, that's why they're at the bottom of Great Tier, but I do really like what they're going for. I love the little subtle differences inside the Urshifu designs, like how obviously one's blue and red, but those aren't obviously subtle differences. I'm mainly talking about how, like, the headbands are arranged and, like, the different stripe patterns. Like, I think that those little tiny differences actually make them really cool. And now we have Gigantamax Gengar, which may be a bit of a hot take, but I think is leagues better than the Mega form. For me, the Mega form is kind of just like Gengar with 2 arms. And I mean, I do kind of like it, but at the same time, it's not my favorite. I don't know why every form of Gengar has to be, like, on the ground, though, because obviously Mega Gengar's flat, and G-Max Gengar is also flat. They're not, like, flying around like Gengar usually is, so I don't know, it's a weird tangent. But both of them actually do have cool shinies, being the white instead of just the normal, like, slightly darker shade of purple that they usually are. And I also, for G-Max Gengar, that gives it more points than Mega Gengar, is that it's a haunted house. It actually has some really creepy lore where you can, like, hear the loved ones inside of it. And I don't know, for a ghost-type Pokemon, that's pretty creepy, which makes it really cool to me. Plus, you know, love Gengar, so that's always a plus. I'm gonna group these two together. Why do I keep saying group? I'm gonna group Butterfree and Beedrill together because they're both Gen-1 bugs. They're both really cool and well designed. Beedrill is obviously a BA, and Butterfree is just like a really cool, solid Mothra design, and I really like both of them a lot, actually. A lot more than I was thinking when I was originally doing the ranking. But yeah, they're both really high on my list. And then Rillaboom. Rillaboom's only this high because I like Rillaboom, I'm going to be honest. The design itself isn't nothing special, but it's Rillaboom, and I love Rillaboom, so yeah, sure, great tier. Venusaur is similar to Gengar, leagues better than the Gigantamax form. Although this time it's the other way around, because I love the Mega form, and I hate the Gigantamax form. For me, the Gigantamax form looks stupid. Not stupid enough to go in the not a fan or bad tier, because I still think it's a okay design, but it's just so weird, because it's covered by its giant flower, and it kind of obstructs Venusaur. It just looks like this overgrowing mushroom on this weird dinosaur thing. It doesn't look like what Venusaur is. Venusaur is a dinosaur with a plant growing out of its back. And the reason I love Mega Venusaur so much is because it expands on that idea rather than changing it like Gigantamax Venusaur did. Because Mega Venusaur is like a giant jungle on its back, and I think that is super cool. Because it's like it goes from one plant to a bunch of plants compared to just being a giant overgrown plant. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Banette is so freaking cool. Like, oh my god. What a freaking glow up for Banette. So Banette itself is kind of weak in my opinion, and henceforth why I don't like it that much. I'd put it in like good tier if I was doing it again now. If I'm honest, I don't remember what I put in initially. But this is so cool. The way its zippers and like red parts of it are coming out Oh, it looks so good. And I don't think I'm alone in that, because Mega Banette is a very popular Pokemon. But my god, it's so cool and terrifying at the same time. Which is good. Same with Mega Gengar. Gigantamax Gengar. It works so well for ghost types to have these terrifying Mega and Gigantamax forms. And honestly, I really like it when they do have stuff like that. Now we're going to move on to Centiskorch. This one's kind of a weird one. I don't really know why I like it as much as I do. But I just kind of really like it. It's like taking a Pokemon like Centiskorch that I already thought was pretty cool and just makes it better. So like, yeah, of course I like Mega Centiskorch, Gigantamax Centiskorch as much as I do, because it's just better Centiskorch, and I already like Centiskorch, so you know, it's just a better Centiskorch. And Pinsir, same thing with Mega Banette. It's really cool. So I already kind of like Pinsir quite a bit, but this is adding the wings and like the glowy eyes makes it terrifying and awesome. And it also puts it toe-to-toe with Scyther, which I love. Because obviously Scyther in Gen 2 got Scizor, and recently actually got Cleaver too. So I'm really glad that they didn't ditch Pinsir for Heracross like they were doing in Gen 2. I'm glad they came back and gave him a Mega form, because yeah, Mega Pinsir's awesome. It's leagues better than Mega Pinsir and Mega Scizor. So yeah, now it stands toe-to-toe with those ones in my opinion. And it's obviously more aggressive too, which is awesome, because Pinsir already pretty aggressive, but now it's like this terrifying, menacing beast of a bug now, which I love. Now we have Lapras, and I love original Lapras. Lapras, I just love saying Lapras. If you saw the original video, you know that Lapras is pretty high on the list. Because I love Lapras, and I think that Gigantamax Lapras is really cool. And I also use it a lot in Sword and Shield. Obviously, I caught the Gigantamax Lapras from the raid den before they added the soup to the game, so I obviously raised it from like a level 60 Lapras, and I used it on my team for a while. I really like it, and I think Lapras just really deserved this form, you know? And next up we have Duraludon, and I actually really like it, surprisingly, because it's kind of like a nothing kind of Gigantamax form. Like, obviously in the neutral too, there's a lot of ones, like, I know I keep bringing it up, but Mega Scizor, where it just doesn't change that much from the original, or like Mega Garchomp or something, where yeah, it's different, but it's not different enough for me to like it. This one is kind of the same thing, but I just really love that it's based on a building in London. I kind of forgot which one. It was probably like one of the lore videos explaining every Gigantamax Pokemon and why it looks like the way it is. But I remember hearing that it's based off a certain skyscraper located in London, which is so cool, especially because, you know, Galar's based on the United Kingdom. And one of the cities in the game is Winden, which is completely inspired by London. So having a building that is a giant skyscraper from London, it's so cool in my opinion. And it's, yeah, really awesome. Don't have much else to say on that one. And finishing off the great tier, we have Mega Rayquaza, and how could you not love it? This thing is a competitive beast with a T on the end. And everybody loves Rayquaza, so just making a cooler Rayquaza is just, you know, cool. Like, why would you not like it? Okay, so now we are on to the big hitters, in my opinion. We are on the best of the best tier, the S tier, whatever you want to call it. Starting with Gigantamax Charizard, everybody's favorite, right? Everybody loves when Gigantamax Charizard gets new forms. Or just regular Charizard gets new forms. I kind of agree that they should stop giving it as much love. I think all the Kanto starters, despite loving Squirtle so much, need to get less attention. Like, give a Gigantamax form to, like, the Gen 2 starters or something. That'd make me really happy. Obviously, they're not going to do it now, but they could have. And that would have made those starters have a lot more appeal, because obviously the only one that's really popular is Typhlosion right now, because it just had the Hisuian form. So, like, if you gave it to that, it'd be really cool. But I'm going to be honest, 2 of the 3 Gigantamax Gen 1 starters are really cool. Obviously, the one I don't like is Venusaur, but I've already talked about that to death. I just really love Gigantamax Charizard, I'm going to be honest. The Fire Wings are so cool. And, like, for me, Gigantamax Charizard is just, like, the face of Sword and Shield. Obviously, it was on, like, Leon's team, which is the champion. But it's also in a lot of competitive. And Gen 8 is the generation where I started to really like watching competitive Pokemon. So obviously, Gigantamax Charizard, a Pokemon that is very common in that, has a lot of appeal to me because it's kind of like a poster child for Gen 8 at this point. And speaking of Charizard, let's skip to Mega Charizard X over here. It's kind of the same thing, minus like the whole face of Gen 6 or whatever. It's just like, it's black and it has blue flames and it's dragon type, so like of course I'm gonna like it. Like Charizard deserved this since it was made, because obviously it's been a dragon forever. It was on Lance's team. But now it's finally got the dragon type, so you know what? Good for Charizard. G-Max Pikachu's up next, or I guess was up next because it's before Mega Charizard. And unlike Gigantamax Eevee, who I said completely botched the classic design because it should have done something so much better, this one I think is perfect for Pikachu. And it plays on nostalgia, and despite me never playing back then, I did watch my fair share of the Gen 1 anime a while back now. Obviously not when it first came out because I was not alive. But in like, I don't know, 2012, 2013, I was huge on the Indigo League anime. So Fat Pikachu, despite not playing the original games, does mean quite a bit to me. So this is a really nice reference. And it's actually surprisingly good. Especially with like the light ball item and stuff, this thing could be really good. So yeah, Fat Pikachu, okay in my books. Actually more than okay, it's fantastic. And onto the final four, I guess. We're on to Mega Blaziken, which is, I know this is like the fourth time I said it, it's just cooler Blaziken, right? There's been a couple of other ones that have been like that, but it's just cooler Blaziken, you know? My first game was Omega Ruby, my first Pokemon game, when that came out. And I obviously started with Torchic, which is why Torchic is one of my favorite Pokemon. And in that game, you get Mega Blaziken. So throughout my first playthrough, I was using a Mega Blaziken, which makes me, really like the form. And then we have a Mega Gallade, and oh my god, way to take an 8 out of 10 Pokemon design to 11 out of 10. Mega Gallade is awesome, and honestly is the sole reason why I prefer Gallade over Gardevoir. It's such a subtle difference that most people probably shake it off and would put it in like the good tier, because it's not that different. It just has a cape and bigger arms, but my god, it's so cool. I could gush about this for like, I don't know, probably 10 minutes, honestly. But it's, there's something about it. The psychic fighting type having swords for arms and a cape that just make it like, it looks like a superhero, which is something that the original Gallade can't say for it. Like, I really like Gallade. I don't love Gallade. I love Mega Gallade. But to me, there's something missing about it. And honestly, I think it's missing something like a cape. I think if regular Gallade had like a cape and maybe longer arms like the Mega form, I would like it. It'd be like one of my favorite Pokemon. Which is why I love Mega Gallade so much, because it's what I think Gallade should be. It's what I think Gallade should look like. And if it looked like this all the time, Gallade would probably be my top 10 favorite Pokemon. Because honestly, it is so cool. And if we took the top 2 out, which are there, because those 2 Pokemon are already my favorite Pokemon, this would absolutely be my favorite Mega and Gigantamax form. Like, without a question. It's just so cool. Alright, now we're going to move up. Now we're going to move on to Gigantamax Blastoise, which I've talked about a couple times so far. And, wow. Way to blow Mega Blastoise out of the water. One of the worst Mega forms to one of the best Gigantamax forms. They did really good job with this one. Obviously, I love original Blastoise. That shouldn't be much of a surprise. But the fact that they didn't, make it something that's not, like, a tank, and they instead just made it huge and have, 200 or whatever guns on its back, like an artillery. Oh my god, that's awesome! Plus the fact that its face is, glowing and it has, weird spots on it, make it look, menacing. It's like, this thing is mean, and it is going to shoot you with its water artillery. And I adore that about Gigantamax Blastoise. So well done, Game Freak. You made my favorite Pokemon, or one of my favorite Pokemon, even better and even cooler than it already was. However, Gigantamax Blastoise is not my favorite Mega Gigantamax Pokemon. Overall, it is my favorite Gigantamax Pokemon, but the overall number 1 spot is going to Mega Metagross. The reason for which being that Metagross already is probably in my top 5 favorite Pokemon. Easily the best pseudo-legendary. And this is just Metagross on like 10 times steroids of awesomeness. It's flying, which is already cooler. It's like menacing machine gun arms are now in front of it, so you can see it at all times. Like, now it doesn't like lift up its leg and you can see the spikes on it. You see them at all times. It's a constant threat. And I love it for that. I know I've said this a lot, but it's just cooler Metagross. And similar to actual Metagross, it has a fantastic shiny. The yellow and the gold, easily my top 5 favorite shiny Pokemon. We'll get there one day, don't worry. As well as it now has a blue stripe over its face, which makes it look even better. And what else do I like about it? I have a list here. Obviously, it's flying now. So regular Metagross can levitate, and we've seen it a couple times. But in most of like the 3D models and sprites, it's like on the ground. You know, can get hit by levitate, or ground types, I mean. But now it's levitating in the air. Like, good luck hitting this thing. It's just, it's so cool, dude. It reminds me so much of, like, the Terminator. Like, regular Metagross was already really cool, but now you turn it into, like, this Terminator flying robot thing, and now it's just on the verge of being awesome. Maybe one of the best Pokemon designs they've ever done, if we want to go there. And regular Metagross was already perfection, and people say you can't improve perfection, but in this case, they absolutely perfected perfection, because this thing is incredible. And honestly, the top 3 Pokemon, Mega Gallade, Gigantamax Blastoise, and Mega Metagross, what bangers of Pokemon. Like, they are such good and well-designed, not only forms, but Pokemon in general. Like, well done. More of these, please. Less of Mega Diancie and Gigantamax Caparajah, please. And with that, getting a bit spitty, there's a lot of saliva in my mouth. We're going to wrap things down here. I actually talked for 28 minutes. This might be the longest one, despite having the fewest amount of Pokemon. And that's more because I went in depth with all of them than anything else. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And with the end of this video, and this video being released in December, we are now on to Gen 9. So the build-up is over. Next time we are ranking every single Paldea Pokemon. The Paldea forms, the Paradox Pokemon, all the legendaries, all the regular Pokemon, all going to be ranked in one tier list video. And you're going to see my blind opinions on all of them, because I don't think I've talked about any of them except for Wiglet so far. So you're going to see what my opinions are very soon. But as for this video in particular, I hope you enjoyed it. And I also hope that you take care of yourselves, because mental health is important. And I will see you all in my next video. And bye-bye for now.